Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Marhaba everyone. Hello, my name is Lujain Nassif, the Venture Lab Manager here at Prince Mohammad bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship, located in King Abdullah Economic City. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 2021 Global Entrepreneurship Monitor KSA Forum, hosted in partnership by MBSC and Babson Global Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. Tonight's event is hosted virtually from Saudi Arabia, where our viewers are zooming in from all over the world. Tonight, we will be highlighting the findings of the 5th consecutive KSA National Report, and we'll have the opportunity to hear firsthand about the experiences of well-known Saudi entrepreneurs during COVID-19 to discuss the government's response and support to these entrepreneurs, as well as learn about the importance of entrepreneurial industry diversification from government representatives and local experts in the field. But before we begin, I would like to remind our esteemed audience zooming in from home that tonight's event will be recorded and that you can use the chat box to communicate amongst yourselves. But to please save all of your questions for the Q&A section if you want them to be answered during the dedicated Q&A segments throughout the event. And now, without any further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Professor Zager de Graaf, Dean of MBSC, to address the audience.
And I hope that the technology helps us. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to warmly welcome you to Prince Mohammed bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship and the launch of the 2021 Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Report for Saudi Arabia. We are absolutely delighted that so many of you are joining us this evening. And I would like to thank you for your attendance and the efforts you devote. I hope and we have prepared for an interesting evening. This is the 5th annual Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Report. And as we all know, right, it comes at a difficult time, just 1 year into a global pandemic, and people, organizations, and change makers are just barely starting to adapt to a new normal. Saudi entrepreneurs and business owners are demonstrating strong faith into the rules, regulations, and processes that the Saudi government has installed to stimulate entrepreneurship. And over 90% of adults are lauding entrepreneurship as a favorable career choice. A third of Saudis intend on launching businesses within the next 3 years. Within that context, Prince Mohammed bin Salman College of Business and Entrepreneurship is specially positioned to amplify its catalytic role and drive the entrepreneurial intent of Vision 2030. Of course, I would like to thank Babson Global, Emaar, the Economic City, MISC, Lockheed Martin, and our team of faculty and researchers, without whose generosity, unwavering support, and intellectual contributions, the timely publication of this report would not have been possible. As mentioned in the report, there are 2 factors that could dampen the momentum of this thriving economic engine for Saudi Arabia, and these are the fear of failure and the potential entrepreneurs not executing, holding off, waiting. While academic institutions have played an instrumental role in stimulating entrepreneurial development, now is the time that we will rally behind aspiring, nascent, and established entrepreneurs to help them. To that extent, MBSC, our school, offers a wide range of curated value propositions and complementary offerings that include, we have the first venture lab in a private Saudi educational institution. We have a world-class international faculty, and we have an engaged angel network. Collectively, this allows the school to offer a safe, risk-free learning environment where students and entrepreneurs can experiment while remaining insulated against the consequence of setbacks that are otherwise ubiquitous in the real world. by encouraging entrepreneurs to recognize that tolerating and accepting failure within limits is the key to stimulating an innovation culture. MBSC is primed to promote the Vision 2030 entrepreneurial agenda as it successfully navigates the above-mentioned dampening factors. Thank you for your attendance. I wish you a fruitful evening.
Thank you, Dr. Zager. And now I would like to introduce Mr. David Abdo, the CEO and President of Babson Global, joining us all the way from Boston.
Thank you, Lujane. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Abdas, CEO for Babson Global and Director for the Babson Global Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. It's my pleasure to join Lujane and Dean Zager and welcome you to this year's GEM Forum. The Babson Global Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership was founded several years ago under the umbrella of Saudi Arabia's Economic Offset Program and is located at MBSC. Through research, education, and outreach, the center's mission is to help promote a sustainable entrepreneurship ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. And I'm pleased to say that GEM has been one of the center's most important initiatives since its founding. GEM is one of the world's foremost studies of entrepreneurship. It began in 1999 as a joint project between Babson College and the London Business School. Over 120 economies have participated in GEM over the years, and it's become a trusted resource for governments and organizations around the world to help inform decision-making to improve the quantity and quality of entrepreneurship activity. As Lujane noted, this year's report represents the 5th consecutive year in which GEM has tracked entrepreneurship indicators in Saudi Arabia. The year-over-year progress across so many of the indicators has been remarkable, and it is really something to celebrate. And it's our hope that this year's report may help to keep the strong momentum going. I would like to close by adding my thanks to our GEM sponsors and partners. Thank you, of course, to MBSC for your close collaboration in producing the report and hosting the forum. Thank you to Moonshot for the important role you've played in helping promote the forum. Thank you to Lockheed Martin for the generous support you provided over the years. And of course, thank you so much to our report authors, Dr. Mohammad Rumi from MBSC, Dr. Donna Kelly from Babson College, and Dr. Alicia Coderas from the GEM Consortium for their terrific work on this year's report. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of the forum.
Thank you, Dr. Zager, and to David as well for your opening remarks. And now we would like to introduce to you Dr. Alicia Coderas. Professor Alicia, who is joining us all the way from Spain, has been teaching over 20 years and is an expert in quantitative methods and project management. She is also part of GEM Global and has been working, for GEM for many years and is the technical director of the Saudi team. And she is also a member of GEM Global Data Team. She will be shedding some light on the key findings and points, changes, and advances related to the Saudi entrepreneurial ecosystem. Please, Dr. Alicia, you have the word.
Thank you very much, Lujan. Salam alaikum and good evening to everyone. And thank you for attending this event where different speakers and guests are going to present and discuss a silver of the main results provided by the GEM Saudi Arabia report this exceptional year 2020. My name is Alicia Coderas and I am one of the co-authors of the report. But first of all, let me briefly explain what is GEM for those who are not familiar with the project. Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is the world's foremost study on entrepreneurship. Started in 1999, it collects data using two information tools called the Adult Population Survey to interview a representative sample of adult populations of the participating economies, and the National Expert Surveys to interview experts on main entrepreneurial framework conditions or determinants of entrepreneurship at national level. Since 1999, more than 120 economies have participated in the project. Saudi Arabia re-entered in 2016, establishing its base at MBSC, supported by the Babson Global Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership and by Lockheed Martin. Today, we present the 5th consecutive report for the Kingdom. Please go ahead with it. Yes, the results and information provided by GEM reports bring policymakers, entrepreneurs, business associations, and many other stakeholders with key insights about entrepreneurial activity and its context, thanks to the uniqueness of the study. In this sense, GEM is unique because it focuses on individuals, capturing informal and formal entrepreneurial activity, and many indicators that cannot be offered by other sources. The results are globally comparable. And this exceptional year, 2020, 43 economies have fully participated in GEM, and 2 did it partially. Our interviews included additional questions related with COVID-19, whose results allow us to visualize the impact of the pandemic on various aspects of entrepreneurial activity and its context. Go ahead, please. This diagram, can you show the diagram, please? Lujen? Yes, thank you. This diagram constitutes the GEM Conceptual Framework, where you can identify the 2 main sections about which data is collected and analyzed. Thus, on the one hand, we have the conditioning factors of entrepreneurial activity that are covered by the survey of experts. Why evaluate these 9 conditions that you have at the bottom of the slide? And on the other hand, please go to the next slide. We have the indicators extracted from the adult population on the prevalence of societal values and individual attributes, plus the degree of involvement in entrepreneurial activities, along with a wide description of the characteristics of these activities. Then this complementary diagram shows the entrepreneurship process as it is understood within GEM. As you can see, it consists in a sequence, starting with potential entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial intentions, followed by nascent entrepreneurs, those who are up to 3 months in the market, new owner managers between 3 and 42 months in the market, and established owner manager who are in the market for more than 42 months. But GEM also captures the rate of exit businesses the current year, and a wide number of indicators to describe the activities at each stage, such as socio-demographic traits of entrepreneurs, type of industry, growth expectations, degree of innovation, market scope, and others. Please go ahead to the next 2 slides. Yes, this describes the adult population survey, okay, which is the right side of the conceptual framework. And this is the entrepreneurship process as it is understood within GEM. Then now, please go ahead. Entering the presentation of a silver of the results of the Saudi Arabia GEM report for 2020, we are going to divide it in two blocks. Okay, in the first, we will see how, despite the challenges imposed by COVID-19, business owners see opportunities in the kingdom, and that entrepreneurs are still starting at high rates amid the pandemic. Then in a second block, we will state that the Saudi government continued to support entrepreneurship and has responded to the pandemic challenges. The full report will be presented in depth in the fall, and MBSC We'll send more information about that presentation when it is formally scheduled. And we'll be making the report available after today's forum. Now, please, I give the word to Lujan. Thank you very much for listening to my speech, and I wish you great evening to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alicia, for the great findings. I would like to now introduce you all to Professor Donna Kelly, who will be going over the first set of interviews. Professor Donna is a professor of entrepreneurship at Babson College. Since 2007, she has served as a board member of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor and currently co-leads the GEM United States team. She has also co-authored over 30 GEM reports. Dr. Kelly is joining us all the way from the United States to lead a couple of interviews with our respected experts and entrepreneurs. Accompanying her for the first interview will be Mr. Mohammad Al-Arifi, the General Manager of Entrepreneurship Planning at Munshaat. He leads the effort to create projects that will enable key entrepreneurship ecosystem players to develop entrepreneurship mindsets and ensure entrepreneurial cultural awareness across the different social segments in the kingdom. The second interview, Dr. Kelly will be interviewing Ms. Adwa Al-Dakhil, the founder and CEO of Falak Investment Hub and Nas'a Recruitment Software, as well as she has been listed in the Gulf Business 100 Most Powerful Arab list, and is also a member of the MBSC alumni. Accompanying her will be Mr. Omar Abu Habaya. Omar is the founder and CEO of Shakil, the largest advanced manufacturing setup in Saudi. After the acquisition of Shakil by Imensa in the past year, Omar has become the general manager of Imensa KSA and the CEO of the group. Omar is considered as one of the pioneers of additive manufacturing in the Middle East. Dr. Donna Kelly, I leave the floor, or if I may say so, the screen to you. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you, Lujane. It's really nice to be here. We've had quite a year in the United States. Our economy and really society were so affected by COVID-19 with a lot of shutdowns. Many of us were isolated in our homes. I taught online for a whole year. I know many in Saudi Arabia experienced the same thing. And COVID just really surged, especially over the winter months. We collected the GEM data around August and September of 2020. So these results reflect somewhat of the early results early in COVID, or at least midway. And so we're actually looking forward to the 2021 results to see what happens a year later. The full GEM report that will be available shows what's happening in entrepreneurship overall in Saudi Arabia, which will be really affected by just the trends over time. We see that entrepreneurship rates were up, a lot of very positive attitudes, women participating at very high rates. And what we're going to talk about today are some really interesting results, especially related to COVID. And as you see here on the screen, here are a few results from the report. 85% of established business owners said that COVID put an end to some of their core business activities. That's a major impact. And 63% going forward predict lower growth in their businesses. However, more than half, 56%, saw new opportunities because of the pandemic. Let's advance to the next slide. And on the entrepreneur front, 50% of entrepreneurs, those starting and running new businesses, thought that starting a business was more difficult in 2020 compared to if they had started a year earlier. However, the entrepreneurship rate was still very high, and we've seen a lot of increases in the kingdom, a 24% increase over the prior year. So the entrepreneurship rate in the adult population was 17%, and fully 1/3 intend to start a business in the next 3 years. So what I'd like to do next is turn it over to Mohammad Al-Arifi, and I'm sorry about my pronunciation, to discuss the overall view of entrepreneurship in Saudi Arabia. Welcome, Mohammad. It's really great to see you again.
Hi, Dr. Donna. Thank you very much. It's good to see you again too. And thank you to MBSC and Babson Global for this opportunity to speak here today.
We're really happy to be able to get your perspective. But let's put COVID aside for a minute. It's hard to do, I know. But from where you sit, what was the direction you saw entrepreneurship going in Saudi Arabia?
So, Donna, we're blessed here in the kingdom with having a vision 2030. So the vision is our compass. The vision is driving everyone to have a thriving economy, have non-oil revenue, and lead in technology and innovation. And also from the vision, we're aiming to have a larger SME contribution to the GDP, and this is to us our North Star. So to answer your question, we're heading north. And I think this is translated in numbers and growing entrepreneurship ecosystem, growing entrepreneurship activities, and from the international reports such as GIM, we are seeing the results and monitoring the progress and the gaps.
Oh, great. And later on, we'll hear from Dr. Rumi and his guests about what the government is doing. But from the entrepreneur perspective, what do you see as some of the constraints and enablers? Or what are the things that entrepreneurs have to sort of overcome in terms of hurdles in entrepreneurship? And what are some things that really enable them? So for example, in the United States, as you know, the finance sector for entrepreneurship specifically is pretty well developed. We have venture capital, we have the angel investment community, we have really a culture of entrepreneurship, but we also see some challenges as well. It's not always easy in the United States when we can't find the talent, if we're in regions where entrepreneurship doesn't thrive. So how do you see the enablers and the constraints?
So, Donna, when we're looking at the ecosystem overall, we're looking at 5 main dimensions that put together a healthy ecosystem. The first would be the awareness and promotion. In that regard, we're seeing a lot of activities, a lot of not only from Munshaat, but from the whole ecosystem, the educational institutions such as MBSC, other universities, and other government and private sector institutions, where the awareness and the talks and the know-how is being shared, and success and failure stories are being shared. And the other dimension is the infrastructure. And here I mean the incubators, the accelerators, the private sector driven platforms that generate more entrepreneurship activities. And in early 2018, we only had maybe 20 incubators that are based in the kingdom, and today we have more than 190. So that's a big leap in terms of available platforms to launch entrepreneurship. The third dimension is the access to network and information. And I'm talking here about both enablers as well as, I won't say constraints, but probably more challenges. So those dimensions have their own challenges, but they also are where enablers look for to push their buttons. So the third dimension is the access to network and information, and that's also a challenge as well as an opportunity when one able to use their network and access to information. The fourth dimension is the capability building. That includes mentorship, consultation, and we see a lot of entrepreneurs actively participating in supporting other entrepreneurs in their ecosystem, as well as we see a lot of programs such as either from us in Munshi'at or from other key players in the ecosystem, where they provide channels for mentorship and consultation and as well as training. The fifth dimension is the ease of doing business. So now the first 4 dimensions were more about enabling the entrepreneur. Now we're paving the way. So a key challenge is ease of doing business and for entrepreneurs, and we're seeing a lot of, thankfully, good progress in reforming a lot of regulations, and I think even the GIM report gives us good indicator that this is working, and that's to enable them to start and continue their business. The last dimension is the access to finance. So now that everything is ready, the road is paved. Sometimes some entrepreneurs need different financial instruments, whether it's debt or equity or investment, and that also have seen a lot of different progress, whether it's establishment of the SME bank, establishment of the Saudi venture capital company. So this is an overlook of the ecosystem and the areas where there has been some challenges, and there is some enablement happening.
Great to hear this. So someone in the chat said that he remembers a time that everyone thought he was crazy for starting a business. And when you talk about the potential support, that's really critical, because it not only lends itself to potential entrepreneurs, we need to have everybody really at all phases in society. So it's not just who's starting, but who is available to be starting businesses in the future. And we see that Saudi Arabia is really leading the region and in the world in many cases in the attitudes. You not only need these potential entrepreneurs, but you also need people that will support them. And that may even be family members, but those that are willing to invest, those that are willing to work for these companies, you know, generally, and I see this in many of the countries that I've worked with around the world, that oftentimes people can be hesitant to work for a startup. But I can see that it's really has, there's just a lot of excitement in Saudi Arabia around entrepreneurship. I'm wondering if the role of the private sector, you were mentioning the accelerators, and I know Professor Rumi will be talking a little bit more about this, but do you see a lot of government and private work? Is it more government, or is it more the private sector?
I would say it's more private sector driven. A lot of government institutions have initiatives to establish entities, but they're operated and run by private companies normally. So and some of those private sector companies that are running those incubation and acceleration and also co-working spaces are either running their own or running for a government institution.
Oh, great. And the role of universities too. You know, I think about, I mean, coming from Babson College, we've really evolved our thinking about entrepreneurship, even though we were really the leading university in the United States for introducing entrepreneurship education, but really trying to get our students to practice entrepreneurship, not just understand the theory, and also just understanding that it's your foundation for entrepreneurship might be an engineering degree, right? But having that business acumen and that ability to go out there and find your way, you know, when it's highly uncertain, and especially with COVID, is really pretty critical. Do you have any thoughts on that, the role of the universities?
Yes, absolutely. I think especially in the awareness and also as well as in the infrastructure dimensions, universities' role is very critical. Universities is where you have the mindsets, the fresh and upcoming generation all put together along with the expertise in one place for a certain period of time. And for that reason, in Munshi'at, we launched a university startup initiative, where the aim is to convert universities to factories that generate startups. And we have seen active participation from faculty members, from students, from entrepreneurship centers, in converting graduation projects into startups, into converting research into commercializing those researches. So, and as well, I mean, even the Ministry of Education with the new university system in the kingdom is encouraging all universities to invest in entrepreneurship, as it is the way forward. In the future, in Saudi universities, we will be proud of Saudi startups that graduated from universities more than a number of CEOs that has graduated from universities.
And that's great. I've had the pleasure of visiting Saudi Arabia and visiting MBSC and seeing what they're doing in terms of turning out entrepreneurs, and have a lot of successful entrepreneurial graduates. I have to admit, yeah, go ahead.
That's such a great example of how the education sector is really hands-on and developing the entrepreneurial ecosystem, MBSC.
Yeah. Now let's look at COVID. It's been a really tough year for entrepreneurs. How has it affected entrepreneurship in Saudi Arabia?
So it definitely has affected, and as the statistics show, a lot of the entrepreneurs in terms of it's just reducing or lowering the cash flow. Startups or even established businesses are running with a known cash flow that is no longer available as it is. So it has definitely had its impact, and it's also has created a lot of opportunities for some existing and for some new ones.
Yeah. And how do you see certain industries were affected? I know, like in the United States, you know, with retail, restaurants, a lot of the service sector was affected very negatively, but online retail, anything that was conducted online did very well. How did you see the entrepreneurs affected differently? Were some affected not, you know, really in a positive way versus others?
So it did, as you rightly mentioned, affect the service and retail industry in the conventional manner. But we've seen a lot of those businesses in those industries pivoting and converting their businesses to take the opportunities that COVID created. And we've seen some good examples in the kingdom where even you wouldn't imagine a gym or sports business running, because no one is allowed to visit their facilities. But we've seen some good examples where they have converted and pivoted from their business model to provide home-based sports. We've seen many different excellent examples. And during COVID itself, some startups that are mainly using technology and using the chance of allowing people to buy from their homes, even securing some rounds of investments. The likes of Sari, Nana, those businesses grew significantly during COVID, as well as the education sector, where we've seen a lot of growth and opportunities that has been taken by Saudi entrepreneurs to fill this gap that COVID has created.
That's great, great. Now, Lujane, we might have some questions. Lujane, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, we definitely do. All right, first question is for Mr. Mohammad Al-Arafi. How is Munsha'at or the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem helping entrepreneurs post the startup phase? So what kind of support are you giving them?
So, and it depends on the need of the startup. So we are providing services and programs from ideation to establishing the business, whether it's by training, capability building, or even mentorship and consultation, to the logistical support by providing with the incubation licenses to the different incubators, where now startups can actually start their business without worrying about the logistical burdens, and they can try, start, succeed. If they fail, they can start again with lower cost. And there are a lot of funding different programs that are designed for startups to lower their startup cost, that were also launched by Munshad.
Excellent. Excellent. Dr. Donna, I believe this question is for you. As global entrepreneurs are increasing day by day nowadays, what will be the impact on the global market from the situation?
And the situation in terms of COVID, or in general, the increase in entrepreneurship?
And global entrepreneurs, I believe, is the question.
Sure. Well, so as entrepreneurship increases globally, what we have to think about are a couple of things. Is entrepreneurship inclusive? So we in the United States have been looking at not only women's entrepreneurship, and by the way, in Saudi Arabia, you may have heard that women start businesses at a higher rate than men. It's not the case in the United States. We've also been looking at race and ethnicity in different ethnic groups. So making sure that it's inclusive and available to everyone. We also have to look at the impact of entrepreneurs. So if we do want a variety of entrepreneurs, we want entrepreneurs that are able to start maybe one-person businesses, but we also want entrepreneurs that become employers, that create jobs. And then finally, we also want to think about, and I know it may relate to the question that Mohammad just answered, is building sustainable businesses. So we can't focus just on getting people to start businesses, but how can they create ongoing businesses where customers can count on them over time, employees can count on them to have stable jobs, and so forth. So a lot of what we want to think about globally is not just about the increase in entrepreneurship, but just think about how the impact of the entrepreneurs are in the world. And I just want to ask Mohammad one more question. So this is a hard one because we look back when actually a lot before we had the 2020 results. I was being asked what's going on with COVID and how is it affecting entrepreneurship. And we could look back to the 2008 recession that really started in the United States and affected the United States quite substantially. We saw really a drop in the entrepreneurship indicators in GEM. We haven't really quite seen, we've seen a slight drop in entrepreneurship in the United States so far in the 2020 results. But, we'd like to think that this is not a lost opportunity, that if we had to think about what can we learn that might help us in the future when we have these environmental shocks, do you have any thoughts on what we've learned about entrepreneurship during this very difficult time?
I think COVID, yes, has created a lot of success and failure stories. And that's something that entrepreneurs should learn. We learned that agility and resilience is no longer just a tagline. It's more of a necessity to start your business. I'm sure founders that have gone through COVID, whether their business was impacted negatively or they saw an opportunity, has learned a lot in terms of how they can innovate, how they can run with more efficiency and speed, where they need to make their decisions based on the opportunity, and always look for what problems they're trying to solve. Because this is the number one question where entrepreneurs always have to ask themselves in establishing their business. So I think use of technology is now being a necessity, e-commerce, logistic, and etc. And also the customer behavior has changed. The customers are now has done business, have consumed services and products in a way that they never had before. So, and that's also an opportunity, not only a challenge for existing business, but it's an opportunity for new businesses to, after understanding this change in the customer behavior globally, it's something that without COVID, probably it will take us longer to learn.
That's a really great point, is we always think about entrepreneurs needing to be agile when they're starting their business, but that really doesn't stop, right? And that you always have to think about what are the new problems that are surfacing, how are customers changing? It's really great insights. I thank you very much for speaking with us. It's been really great to have you here today. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Donna, and thank you everyone for listening in.
Great, thank you. So Lujane, we're going to move on to interview two entrepreneurs. We have Adwa Adakil and Omar Abu Habaya. And we're going to take the entrepreneur perspective with these two guests. And I know you had already introduced them. So let's start with Adwa.
Hello, pleasure to meet you.
So Lujane, I don't know if I have the videos. Okay, there we go. Tell us a little bit about your business and the startup process.
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Falak Investment Hub. Falak has multiple business units, but they are all focused towards venture capital, along with acceleration programs. So within Falak, we have one of the 4 accredited entities by Saudi Venture Capital as an angel network. It's called Falak Angels. We have Falak Business Hub as well, which is a co-working space based in Riyadh, along with Falak's acceleration program, where we invest 5 million riyals every year into 10 MENA-wide startups, along with an upcoming growth stage fund that we are establishing as well. That's it in a nutshell.
Wow, it's amazing. What challenges? I mean, you were opening up in the finance sector, and now COVID has hit. What challenges were you encountering relative to COVID, and how did you overcome these?
That's a $1 billion question, because subhanAllah, when we had our first demo day for batch 1 of our investment-backed acceleration program, it was supposed to be offline. And exactly when the date was supposed to happen was in late March. And that's exactly when COVID hit. And we had to move really fast and to really be agile in doing everything that was supposed to be offline at a big scale to become fully virtual. But one of the key challenges, which I honestly today reflect back and I look as an opportunity, is looking at specific sectors and looking how COVID was a major opportunity to digitize a lot of industries that were moving a bit slower. I'll give you a quick example of this. If you look at the growth in e-commerce, if you look at the growth, especially in the logistics field, or especially in the virtual or online F&B retail, you will see tremendous growth. While it was a major challenge to accommodate, but if you look at the numbers and the accommodation to such virtual infrastructures, you see an exponential growth. And to be very honest with you, Donna, I can't say it was a challenge. Us as VCs, as angel investors, and as entrepreneurs as well, we looked at it to become a challenge in the first 2-3 months, but then on how we can accommodate it and switch it into a major opportunity, which alhamdulillah we did. After COVID, we pivoted our entire acceleration program to become MENA-wide, no geographies, to establish unicorn companies. And then also number 2, we pivoted our entire program to become 100% virtual by linking the dots in our ecosystem.
Wow, really amazing. So you probably heard, and it's very exciting to learn that women are starting at a higher rate than men. And out of the 43 economies that were collecting data in 2020, and actually over the lifetime of GEM, which is 22 years now, we only every year have about 5 or so countries where women are starting at equal or higher rates than men. And generally we see it more in Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, but the Middle East is heating up, and Saudi Arabia in particular. Why do you see women starting at such high rates in Saudi Arabia?
I think this is a multi-sided question and a multi-sided answer as well, because you can't look at the increase of female participation in SME contributions as a standalone factor. you need to look at the other factors as well, which also includes women being able to drive a few years earlier, of course, than COVID, but it was recently new. That being said, you can also look at the other female-focused incentives provided by the Ministry of Labor. You can also look at female-related mentorship sessions provided by the SME Authority, as my colleague mentioned. So there are so many other contributing factors that if you look at it right now and you reflect back, it was as if it was a domino effect, right? It was one factor and then another factor, and that led to a huge domino effect, replicating to looking at more female board members, number one, looking at more female founders, and most importantly, female talents in very competitive industries that were mostly male dominated in the past as well.
Right, right. And, you know, in the United States, I'm always fighting this media perception, right? We have Elon Musk and we have Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, all, you know, white males. And, you know, I feel like a lot of the women entrepreneurs in the US are celebrities. And so women in the US can't really identify with them because they say, well, you know, I'm not a celebrity, I can't start a business. Do you have role models? And I know you mentioned the mentorship. That can be really very, very critical. Do you see that at all?
Absolutely. You can see that within academic institutions, within healthcare institutions. You can see that even within SME-focused institutions. In terms of role models, I always believe in the concept of never choosing one specific role model, but taking snippets and pieces from different individuals, consolidating it and making that version to become your role model, basically. If you look at the entrepreneurship scene, if you look at the innovation scene in Saudi, one of the most up-and-coming female figures in Saudi is Amal Dukhan. Amal Dukhan also had a major contribution to MBSC along with Babson Global. And I believe she was actually in Boston for a long period of time with you, Donna, if I'm not mistaken. But Amal Dukhan is a major mentor to a lot of different females. If you look at the finance sector in specific, you have Khulud al-Dikhail, who is one of the first female Saudi CFAs. You have, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of names, but every single sector that was previously male dominated, you're looking to see more specialists that are females and more specialists that are also focused on increasing the female participation rate as well.
That's really, really exciting. So we'll have a couple of questions for you, but I want to ask Omar a couple of questions as well. Omar, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, I can see you. Great. Could you tell us a little bit about your business, about your startup process? So you started in 2016, I believe, yeah. And how you have seen, well, how your business evolved in the environment and also how you were affected by COVID.
Yeah, so basically we started Shekel in 2016 as a 3D printing service, and we focused on creating innovative new product, and then we commercialized it through our online marketplace. And in late 2020, during COVID, we got merged with Imensa. Imensa basically is a Saudi-based company with a presence across the MENA region, and we have operational and partnership in North America. We focus entirely on the aspects of additive manufacturing, and it's also known as 3D printing, from design to material qualification and all the way to the actual manufacturing. And we currently have 3 AM facilities in the GCC that serves oil and gas and energy sector. And what we do basically is a solution that is called digital inventory, which effectively is producing parts on demand, which is a great solution for on-demand manufacturing, where we eliminating warehouses and convert it into a digital format. To answer your second part of the question, where how did we get affected? You know, we're into manufacturing, so it's a labor-intensive type of a business, and we stopped for a period of time, and then we converted our services into a virtual-based, and we had this ability with additive manufacturing to collaborate with small 3D printing shops and professional 3D printing facilities from around the kingdom, and basically working together to back up the shortage in supply chain. And with this, we highlighted a main advantage of 3D printing technological development and its best capability. And we started seeing engineers and designers from all over the world coming with ideas, new design product that prevent the expansion of COVID. And by then we started manufacturing personal protective equipment, COVID test kits, face shields for medical staff, and separator devices. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. You really exemplify what Mohammad had mentioned about being agile, right? And identifying new problems and new customer needs and responding to them is just really critical. Let's go to Lujane and see if there are a couple questions for our two guests.
Hello. Hello again. All right, so we do have some questions here. First off, do you think that women entrepreneurs nowadays are being supported more than the men to set up their businesses, especially comparing to the past years?
I'm not sure if Omar or Adwa should answer that, but go ahead, Adwa.
I think it's open to all three of you.
Yeah.
So honestly speaking, I never look at it as a scale. I never look at it in a way where how much are females being supported, how much are males being supported, as much as it's the entrepreneur, regardless. And entrepreneurship has no gender. And this is my very diplomatic answer. Or Omar, if you wanna add something, or Donna, feel free.
Yeah, I believe the same. I believe it's a person who has this entrepreneurial spirit who can really ignite their passion and their intellectual know-how and creating a business around it. So it depends on the person. It's not gender-driven. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Lujane, another question?
Sure. So what's the best process to share ideas on how to activate or accelerate the culture of entrepreneurship, especially in underserved parts of the community?
Omar, do you want to start with your thinking on that? And then Adwa, you can join in.
Can you repeat the question again? I missed hearing the question.
What's the process or the best process to share ideas on how to activate or accelerate the culture of entrepreneurship in underserved parts of the community? So how do you reach out to underserved parts of the community? How do you get them excited about entrepreneurship and interested? From your experiences, if you have any.
It's basically, I believe the success stories can really bring the entrepreneurial passions from the community. So I mean, again, it's based on the passions that the entrepreneurial has and where they want to start their own business.
Yeah, Adwa, your thoughts?
Sure. So I think especially after COVID, since this topic is about COVID, we have realized the power of a digital community or a virtual community as well. In terms of what's the best process to share ideas, it's by starting the communication channel. And I think today, this session, I'm in Jeddah, you guys are in Cake. I'm not sure where you're at, like, and I'm sure we have some attendees in Riyadh. There is no such thing as small geographies when it comes to education, when it comes to content, when it comes to sharing ideas, as long as there's a line of communication. So to answer the question in a very brief manner, the number one way is to establish a communication channel. And I think, sorry, that's my puppy saying hello. And I think the number one way to do that is to start the communication channel, whether it was through smaller communities on those smaller villages, or whether it was in Zoom sessions such as these. But we need to establish the communication channel first for everything to come after.
That's yeah, it's really amazing. If you think back about 1.5 years ago or 2 years, we hadn't really heard of Zoom, right? Or WebEx, and we were all kind of forced to learn these technologies. And now we have changes that may be for good, you know, for our benefit over the longer term. So I just want you to close out. If you have a recommendation for one key action that you would tell an entrepreneur that's really critical for starting a business in Saudi Arabia, what would that be, Adwa?
So I think number one would be to start. Number two would be to experiment. And then number three would be to minimize the number of or the amount of investments in the first MVP especially. But overall, if we were to look at what are the key success factors of Saudi Arabia, we are a community that is built on relationships, on networks, and on having a local presence. That being said, if I could summarize all of this with one key factor, is to have a local presence and to be agile enough to experiment on what the local market needs.
Great, great. I love that. Leverage those relationships, take small steps, don't invest a lot in the beginning. Great. And Omar, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, and also you can use the local programs that Munshaat and Falak is really a great example of supporting the entrepreneurial community. These acceleration and incubation programs are really useful and supportive to build up the fundamental of how to start the business, how to launch it, what's your marketing campaign would look like, and where to spend your investments, and the HR, and there's a lot to learn and to unpack from these programs.
Yeah, so reach out, get help, and learn, and it's really great that you have all these resources that you can draw on, that an entrepreneur can draw on. So I want to just thank you. I think it was really great to learn from your experiences and your lessons for future entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'm going to turn it back to Lujane.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Donna, our entrepreneurs and experts as well. Moving on to the next part of the forum, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Mohammad Azam Rumi. Professor Mohammad is the team leader of GEM KSA, author of the GEM National KSA Report, and a professor of entrepreneurship at the Prince Mohammed bin Salman College. Dr. Mohammad Rumi, you have the floor, or the screen, actually.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lujane. So kind of you. And thank you, all of you who are here. I'm just seeing the number of participants. MashaAllah, we are at 144 right now. Welcome to all of you. 2020 was a different year for us. It was unprecedented. It was tough for some of us. Some of us could not do well. And some of us had resource constraints. But despite all these resource constraints, some of us were creating opportunities. Some of us were exploiting the situation in their favor. And they were the real entrepreneurs. And so was the situation for our entrepreneurial kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is driven by Vision 2030, an entrepreneurial dream in itself. So if you look at the National Entrepreneurship Framework conditions on your screen, you will see that in 2020, we did much better than 2019. So you look at the screen and you will find that be it entrepreneurial finance, government policies, support, taxes, even bureaucracy, research and development support, infrastructure, physical infrastructure, professional infrastructure, commercial infrastructure, in all of these areas, we did better as a country, as an economy, as compared to 2019. The only two things were school entrepreneurship education and training and post-school entrepreneurship education and training. And all of you know that schools were closed, but online, we were still doing something which made us at par with 2019. And if you look at the second screen, you will see that one of the major findings of this year, 2020, was while we compare ourselves, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with other participating economies, we found out that the Saudi Arabian economy stands out, particularly for government measures to support new and growing firms. We were at the top of the list in all those 43 economies. Good news. But there are some other news as well. And I would like to share with you, and they are on the screen. that still 82% of those businesses operate in the consumer sector. Only 1% in the medium or high technology sectors. 28% have shown some innovative products and services. And it doesn't mean that they are technological innovation is involved here. It can be system or process or the way to reaching the customer. And that has happened in the previous year. These entrepreneurial businesses, they are becoming a major source of entrepreneurship, or employment, sorry. 26% of them sell nationally, 10% sell internationally, rest of them are selling at local or regional level. Now, these are some of the results. As far as the rest of the results are concerned, you can access the report right after this launch because it will be available online and you can access it and you can read it in detail as well. Now, to discuss about some of these results, like we invited a panel before, we have invited another panel. And first of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Ibrahim Al-Nasser, who is the Deputy Minister Assistant for Digital Entrepreneurship and Inclusion. Now, Ibrahim has been instrumental in setting up the Digital Entrepreneurship Center at the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology. And he has 15 years of work experience up his sleeve, which includes being the General Manager of Empowering Youth and Enterprise at the Human Resource Development Fund. And he has also worked in the banking, investment, and real estate sectors as a bachelor's in business administration and a master's in science. So we have invited him. Welcome, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for sparing some time with us. And what I would like to discuss with you today is the findings of our GEM report 2021. And I have a question for you. And the first question is regarding the government. That what challenges government of KSA faced during COVID-19 in relation to entrepreneurial and established businesses in the kingdom? This is the first question to take it off.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammad, and for MBSC for having me today. No doubt the pandemic, like any crisis, brought challenges with it. And because we had a plan, Vision 2030, we were able to transform those challenges into opportunities. We went into lockdown, we went remote and virtual. We have worked with our partners to use this opportunity to launch many initiatives. One of them was the Hope Hackathon. It was 100% virtual, 4,900 appliers from more than 90 countries. We got 450 unique ideas across digital health, digital education, and video gaming. And in the end, we got 15 winners. One of them, by the way, has just published his game officially in Nintendo platform. Due the pandemic, we understand the changes that might happening into the business models with the startups. And because of that, and to support them on this track, we have set up a virtual meetup, and we have met more than 40 entrepreneurs specialized in more than 15 sectors to understand their challenges and to work with them in a fast way. All of that will not be easy if we haven't be prepared in advance. So I believe the government was ready to shift and to deal with these challenges in a smart way.
Thank you. COVID was an exceptional. However, our results, as I told you, show that government of Saudi Arabia has been helpful in supporting entrepreneurs for the last 2-3 years, not only in COVID, but even before that as well. This is, by the way, our 5th consecutive GEM report. So we have been doing it for the last 5 years, and year on year, the results are showing that the government support is increasing, which is evident from the continuous increase in startup numbers in the kingdom as well. So in your opinion, how has government supported entrepreneurs during the last few years, not only in COVID, but overall?
Okay. Actually, this is a question that I get asked a lot. And my answer is usually the same. Having a great idea is one thing, and making it happen is another. Actually, you need business expertise. In some cases, you need mentors. You need access to data and regulations that allow you to grow. And we believe you need access to capital and equity as well. And most important, you need access to customers. Those are the component of the ecosystem that we have built with our great partners and government and private sectors, and even the NGOs to ignite the digital entrepreneurship over the past 5 years. We use this ecosystem to support startups and to allow them to scale.
Right. So what are the government priorities going forward from here? Because the things are changing very rapidly.
Absolutely. It has been 5 years since the launch of Vision 2030. Over 500 policies reform were applied to increase protections for businesses. Not everyone can be an innovator, but anyone can be an entrepreneur, provided they can offer something of value. For the next 5 years, we want to uncover more innovators and create more entrepreneurs so we can have more reliable startups and hopefully unicorns and see more high impact and scalable business model coming out of the kingdom. Having said that, our accelerated move will only speed up and the focus on innovation is becoming even sharper.
Right. So when we are talking about unicorns and high growth companies, any specific actions which government is taking right now that we have more unicorns?
Okay. Let me, Dr. Mohammad, define what we are doing in the MCIT. We are focusing in the digital entrepreneurship. We are supporting them from ideation till growth, till to have the unicorns or IPO. Is there any specific programs? Yes, we are appointing some specific programs for ideation just to make sure the pipeline is continuing with the years by years. We have another program to accelerate the investment round for the mid companies. And we have a specific one for the potential unicorn to make sure they have the access to more business and access to international markets.
Right. Excellent. Thank you very much. It was quite illuminating. Lujane, do we have any questions from the audience for Mr. Ibrahim?
Yes, thank you for the very insightful interview so far. So the first question we have here is, what sort of response and recovery strategies should we apply to ease the business problems during similar situations such as COVID-19 and what's happening with the economy right now and so on?
Okay, the answer is very easy. Go digital.
So you are saying that by going digital, there will be less chances for any hiccups.
Absolutely.
Right. But yes, you are right up to some extent. But I would, Lujane, jump in here and I'll say entrepreneurial mindset is also the answer. That an entrepreneurial mindset means that pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control, as defined by my friend Howard Stevenson. So which means that yes, there will be resource constraint. There might be situations which you are unable to predict. So in that case, you have to create future. Yes, you go digital, or maybe some other technologies or other stuff which you find on your way, because some of the businesses, they might not have to work digitally as well. Ibrahim, with due respect, I have jumped in and I have added to your words of wisdom as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, I have a second question, if I may. It's a bit general, but do you think that the business culture became prominent in Saudi Arabia, or the entrepreneurial culture in specific, as a result of Vision 2030? Did it inspire entrepreneurship, or was there a strong interest in entrepreneurship, just not enough light on it, for instance?
Actually, the short answer is yes, but I need to explain why. Because the vision brought all the government entities to work together. I remember, like, let's say 6 years ago or 7 years ago, just to understand what's happening in another government entity needs like a couple of months. Now, we cannot start any initiatives unless we have 100% alignment with the in-charge government entities, even to show how much for the private sector. So the answer is yes, absolutely.
Excellent. I have one last question. How is the MCIT helping startups and more advanced businesses alike take their business abroad? Is there an effort to help tech entrepreneurs make a footprint internationally?
Yes, the answer is yes. And how? It's actually within our partnership and too many countries. We signed hundreds of MOUs, and we do exchange programs with the specific countries to do two things: to attract international VC and to do access to market for our local startups.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. Dr. Mohammad, please go on.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. Thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely having you, and we really enjoyed. I hope our participants and people who are watching us enjoyed your interview as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have two more experts. And talking about experts, as the team leader of GEM KSA, first of all, I would like to thank all the GEM experts. You know, there are a number of national entrepreneurship experts whom we contact every year with some questions, and they give us their time and attention. And from this formal forum, I would like to thank all of them, because without them, this GEM report would not have been completed. Thank you so much. So two experts which we have invited here today. One of them is Latifa Al-Ba'lan. She is the managing director of Endeavor KSA, which is part of the global Endeavor as well. She is an inventor and serial entrepreneur who started her first business at the age of 16. Her business, Yatuk, basically sold thousands of coffee machines across the GCC and the world. She earned her MBA from University of Washington and co-founder of Arum, a company focused on developing technology for coffee vending machine. I can go on and on while introducing her. She is co-founder of Sella as well. She is a recipient of Arab Women Entrepreneur Award 2014, EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award in Saudi Arabia in 2015, and Forbes magazines declared her as the kingdom's most innovative leader in 2013, 14, and 15. I can go on and on for Latifa, but welcome, Latifa. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and being here with us. Our second guest is Mohammad Al-Amir, who is the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Ministry of Investment, Saudi Arabia. He is working towards the development of local entrepreneurial ecosystem by increasing its competitiveness. Mohammad works closely with investors, entrepreneurs, universities, NGOs, and the government executives to identify local opportunities. He started his career with Deloitte & Touche after earning his bachelor's degree, and he also holds a master's degree and a postgraduate degree in project management, master's degree in entrepreneurship and postgraduate degree in project management as well. Welcome, Mohammad Al-Amir, here on the forum as well. So what I am going to do is I am going to ask questions from both of you rather than one by one. And let's start with Latifa, ladies first, Mohammad. So Latifa, how do you see entrepreneurs impacting the kingdom in terms of key objectives such as job creation, global competitiveness, and innovation? And what is needed to achieve these objectives? This is my first question.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rumi. It's lovely to be speaking together again, and I'm happy to see that GEM report keeps being published in Saudi. We definitely love to have these data-driven reports, and they're very valuable. It's so nice also, Mohammad, to see you. I'm honored to be on this panel together. What you're saying, Dr. Rumi, it's very dear and near to our hearts, especially in my role now with Endeavor, where we really focus and driven by generating jobs and impacting the economy in Saudi positively. And our focus is especially on high impact entrepreneurs. And what we've seen even during the pandemic the past year, that companies that are similar to what Anasar said just previously, that are digital driven, have been impacted actually positively by the pandemic. We've seen amazing growth of Saudi companies locally and being able to use the pandemic as well to access and expand into international markets. For example, companies like Clasera, Noon Academy, who are able to expand beyond Saudi to tens of markets, covering all the MENA and region, even beyond that. We've seen also, even in terms of job creation, total number of jobs being created by this small group reached over 300,000. And you would be amazed that these are only 20 companies. And technology in specific has the ability to create a huge impact with the let's say limited resources.
Now talking. Sorry, I thought you were finished. Now you are talking about technology. Now you see, majority of entrepreneurs are starting consumer-oriented businesses. Very few are in medium or high technology businesses, and this is not only in the kingdom. It's the same in the United States of America, by the way. They are overrepresented in media, the people who are in technology industry, but actually they represent a very small portion of entrepreneurs, even in the United States of America. Nonetheless, the question is, how can the government or the private sector encourage more technology startups and innovative ventures? And being the MD of Endeavor, I think I'm asking this question to the right person as well.
Well, thank you for asking that question. And I think it's really important, because to understand where is the ecosystem in Saudi at right now. If you'd ask the same question 10 years ago, when there wasn't enough funding, when wasn't enough support and networks to support these tech entrepreneurs, then we would say we need that. But right now, especially with all the support that's coming from programs like the Saudi Venture Capital Company and Jeddah and the Fund of Funds who are making, and also the work that MISA is doing as well in opening the borders to attract talent, whether to startup companies or to invest. It made capital really available, and we're growing, and the reports are showing that. And I think right now what we really need is think of ways of how can we localize these jobs that are being created by our innovative entrepreneurs? How can we make sure they have these engineering high quality jobs stay in Saudi and grow in Saudi? And how can we have more what we call right now the Kareem Mafia, the second generation entrepreneurs coming who's experienced scaling a company or gained experience and now starting up the next wave? How can we have more and more Saudi youth preferring to work for high impact entrepreneur versus saying, I want to work for the Sabics, the Aramcos of the world, or I want to go to work for the government? And I think that's a critical time for policymakers and the ecosystem in general to look at that opportunity.
Now, you are talking about Sabics and Aramcos of the world, and my next question is from Mohammad Al-Amir. Mohammad, welcome to the forum. How do you see the mix of large businesses and small new businesses, maybe public sector large businesses and the private sector businesses, in terms of the industry diversification of the kingdom?
Well, thank you for that question, and it's a pleasure to be here today. It's the first time me being a panelist at GEM, and it's quite an honor. So to answer your question, increasing economic diversity through FDI and the increased participation of SMEs is a key goal within Vision 2030. We see that SMEs and entrepreneurs are increasing in numbers in Saudi Arabia for multiple reasons, which were mentioned before. As was mentioned earlier, there is the continuous government support, the continuous capital funding for SMEs across, for entrepreneurs across. We see the social perception of entrepreneurship changing. And we see, of course, the number of participants that are building the ecosystem increase overall. With the Ministry of Investment during COVID-19, it was quite evident that the ministry has to react quickly, swiftly, in order to ensure business continuity across all levels, and to make sure that the large enterprises as well as the small enterprises are continuously contributing. The response, the COVID-19 Response Center was launched right after the pandemic started. It received 270 or so cases, of which it resolved over 250 within 48 hours. But in also to make sure that all levels of investors are being adhered to, the Ministry of Investment as well created multiple channels, new channels, in order for any investor to be able to reach out to them and to be able to address their concerns and needs. We cannot forget the critical role that SMEs and startups played during COVID-19. We all know the impact that payment gateways, edtech, and delivery applications had in easing the impact of the pandemic. We can also see that this has led to an increase, which is a point you've mentioned earlier as well, with regards to participation in the economy. For example, in Q4 of 2020, we recorded the highest number of licenses being registered at the Ministry of Investment, which is over 460. That more than that is more than the number of licenses that was issued during the same period during 2018. And we do see the highest number of increase happened during December, and that continued strongly in 2021. These are all indicators that show us here at the Ministry of Investment that local and foreign investors are actually being more confident in the local economy, despite the difficult times that it was going to. And then finally, at the end of 2020, we recorded a total of 6.1 billion in non-oil manufacturing investment take place, which is again a good indicator showing that there is increased diversification of the local economy. And the government is continuously playing a key role to increase the participation by continuously improving the regulation in order to increase participation from the private sector.
Right. What is the role of government? Because you are representing Ministry of Investment here. So what is the role of government in generating technologies and innovation? Where is this happening? Universities, government labs, corporations? And how do these technologies get commercialized and get investment either from within Saudi Arabia or from outside Saudi Arabia as well?
That's a lovely question. So the government plays a key role across the whole landscape. It plays an active role with supporting entrepreneurs, but also the private sector as a whole, to ensure that the development and the innovation of technologies takes place. If we can look at it from a top-down approach, just looking at Vision 2030, it has a clear roadmap with initiatives and programs under it that require the activation of new and innovative technologies. So that is an area where we see the government playing a big role in incentivizing and I guess you would say guiding the private sector and entrepreneurs to take the risk and to move forward, and the government tries to supply that demand. As my colleagues and friends, for example, from MCIT might agree with me, the government is also playing a critical role in rapidly developing the infrastructure for technology, improving the regulatory landscape for technology, and developing technology labs. As we can see under FinTech Saudi, we do have the SAMA and CMA sandboxes, but we also see the emergence of technology authorities, such as SIDAYA. But then finally, we also see a trend of modernizing in our cities and developing new smart cities within the country through giga projects. And of course, the biggest example of those is NEOM and the line. And in order for that city to meet its goals, there is a heavy reliance on deep and new technologies that need to be developed as opportunities for local and international entrepreneurs.
Excellent. Thank you. Latifa, I have a question for you. And the question is that what does the investment context for entrepreneurship look like in the kingdom? How has it changed for the last couple of years? And what is needed in the future to support entrepreneurs as far as investment is concerned?
Dr. Rumi, we've seen the figures and the number of deals being closed. And we see it 2020 surpassing 19 surpassing 18, and we're quickly seeing Saudi jumping in the ranks in terms compared to other economies, neighboring economies around us. And in recent articles, we can also see how Saudi is becoming a hot market where we are expecting more and more companies to reach significant scale in terms, and this is largely driven, I would say, with the sophistication and the growth of the VC of the VC and market, and having more funds being created. The work that the Saudi venture capital company has been doing, and Jeddah, in supporting and co-investing with the with venture capital investors, enabled more angel investors to open funds, and also to have to support in terms of their growth and knowledge, and that's what makes us expect that this will continue growing, hopefully in the next few years. And we definitely would. I mean, the only thing that always keeps me concerned, and I hope to see more of that, is having really founder-friendly investors supporting entrepreneurs and enabling them. And also, we're hoping to see more companies exit. More companies we're seeing this year. We're expecting to see one major IPO of a startup in Saudi, Jahaz, being listed in the Saudi Stock Exchange, and hopefully more and more we will see in the coming years, especially with the secondary market that we have, Nemo, that we're having, and in having these mechanisms and instruments as tools for the investors to realize gains. This will even increase the appetite moving forward, in addition to having more talent. So I'll go back to my earlier point, is talent is going to be the driver behind these successes that we're hoping to achieve.
Thank you. Mohammad, I have another and maybe the last question from you from my end. Who are the frequent trade partners of the kingdom? It's always a question in my mind. And where would you like to see business activity expand internationally in the future?
Well, thank you for that question. In short, every international partner is our partner. But the Ministry of Investment today has international offices across the world. It has multiple offices in the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, multiple offices in China, Japan, Russia, and Singapore. And given the Ministry of Investment's new mandate, which allows it to support the inflow and outflow of investments from the kingdom, this helps a lot with building the bridges that need to be built with the different economies and the different region. There is no specific, partners. We, of course, usually see, especially in the entrepreneurship sector, a lot of participants from the region, which are expanding into the Saudi, and Saudi as well, looking at their talent. But we also see trade activities, especially within the entrepreneurship landscape from the United States, the UK, India, and China. But nonetheless, we're always open to support any trade partners that are in line with the kingdom's future goals and ambitions.
Thank you very much. Lujane, I'm coming back to you. I am sure there must be some questions from our panelists, from the participants.
Yes, definitely. The first question is to both Mohammad and Latifa. Do you see a higher surge in a specific type of business in Saudi during COVID more than other types of businesses?
Absolutely. Latifa, would you like to go, or should I?
Please go ahead.
Absolutely, yes. We definitely do, which is something that I touched based on quite a little bit ago. Definitely technology-based, commerce-based activity has definitely spiked up. It was playing a critical role in actually driving the economy forward, as well as addressing the local market needs. How quickly, for example, the cashless solutions and payment gateways have was a big contributor, and we see a big spike even now as the pandemic is fading away. We can notice that cash is less relevant than what it used to be a year ago. So we definitely see that increase as well with regards to e-commerce. There has been a strong increase and growth within that sector as well.
And would you say that the increase in e-commerce and technological businesses also translates to them receiving more investments compared to other types of businesses?
Yes, absolutely. We do see that, and we actually here at the ministry are starting to see a lot more interest, especially towards late stage funding when it comes to tech startups in Saudi Arabia. So the number of growth stage VCs that actually communicate with us and assess these opportunities has dramatically increased.
Excellent. Since I'm speaking to Mohammad right now, there's another question from you. Our audience would really like to know what kind of support you are providing to local entrepreneurs that would like to branch out, because you mentioned that there's a two-way road that you are working on right now. So if you can please clarify on that point.
Absolutely. We start with supporting them throughout the whole cycle. We help them zone by the geographies that they do with regards to how that relates to their business. We also help them to structure their businesses abroad as well if they're trying to attract international venture capital funding. But then that continues on with helping them explore international markets, develop their networks across private and public sectors and geographies, help them integrate within those ecosystems as smoothly as possible. So what the ministry does is leverage its international outreach to make sure that the local entrepreneurs are having a smooth transition in this rough journey that they're.
Excellent. Thank you, Mohammad. I have a question for Latifa or anyone who would like to answer. Many entrepreneurs are afraid of competing with semi-governmental entities and companies. How can we ease their fears? Because we see that semi-governmental entities are basically, participating in every industry. How do we ease their fears? How do we encourage them to move forward?
Lujain, actually, this is a concern in a lot of sectors where we see, if I said, most of the entrepreneurs we sit with would say, who's your biggest competitor? It's usually either the government or regulation, because generally they are doing some very innovative business models or ideas that hasn't been done before and usually would need to be regulated later on. However, it shouldn't stop them. Well, the biggest example is Careem. Careem, when they started, there wasn't any regulation that would allow people or company to lease or rent cars for the public. It was an uncharted territory. There wasn't even regulation for that. But what happened is that as an entrepreneur, as you scale, you also have the ability to, especially with the situation we have in Saudi, where there is very close relationship between the entrepreneurial, between entrepreneurs and the government. They listen. So you're able to lobby, you're able to raise concerns, and especially with the support of having an ecosystem around you of investors and co-founders that can help you achieve, minimize the risk, and maybe influence the policy and shape it with the government as well. And this goes not just in mobility, in e-commerce, and in many layers. And يعني يمكن محمد can also to talk about لجنة تيسير and all the initiatives from the government that are in place to help remove roadblocks, let's say, for companies to scale.
If you would allow me, I totally agree with you, and I'd like to shed some light on a few updates, and especially the great work that our partners at Munshaat have done. In order to minimize the competition that's happening towards entrepreneurs from semi-government as large enterprise, that today the Saudi government is changing its procurement law to allow specific participation SMEs and startups to bid on specific projects that the large enterprise and semi-government entities would not be able to bid in. It's also allowing SMEs to enter into bids without providing any financial guarantees. This is a major concern, and startups, especially innovative startups, should have the room to take that risk and grow without being, I guess, dealing with a high level of competition that it cannot compete against. So this is a major concern that is currently being addressed through multiple schemes.
And Mohammad, if I may also add here, with my role also as well in the Chamber of Commerce, it is a great platform for entrepreneurs to lobby if there is concern in a specific sector where there is government competition, where they can share their concerns and voice it to the different entities within the policymakers in the government as well, to avoid, let's say, to have potential to overcome these fears of competition.
So as a student of entrepreneurship, what I am hearing from you both experts is that because of the Vision 2030 and the leadership at the top, things are changing in the kingdom. It's not the same Saudi Arabia, which was a decade ago. Things are changing at a speed of light. Things are happening. Entrepreneurship is becoming not only a fashion, or a buzzword, but actually people are finding their way in the difficulties, and they are creating opportunities either by lobbying or changing mindsets or private sector or working with public sector as well. So this is an excellent opportunity for people who are listening, or they might not have started their businesses as yet. So this is the time when Saudi Arabia is open for unlimited opportunities. So all of you have a chance to create your own world of entrepreneurship, your own world of writing your own fate as well. Lujane, do you have any more questions?
No, I believe this is it for the evening. Thank you.
So I would like to take this opportunity and thank all the panelists, not only Latifa and Mohammad, but Ibrahim, Adwa Dakhil, and our other panelists as well. I would like to thank all my co-authors, Donna Kelly and Alicia Codros from Spain. And I would like to thank all the experts. You know, every year I write email to a number of people, and they are very busy people. And despite their busyness, they reply to our long questionnaire. And I think all of us are indebted to them. All of us are grateful to them for the help they extend to us, for the hard work they do for us despite their all kind of busy schedule. So my gratitude to all of you for being with us and being part of the journey to make it happen that for the 5th consecutive year, we are launching the GEM KSA annual report today. And inshallah, you will see another report next year because we are already working on the next report. And tonight I am sending the questionnaire to a number of experts, and I'm sure they will be helping us with their responses so that we are here next year again in front of you. Donna, would you like to say a few words, the final words?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. It's been a really enlightening conversation. I really, I have to say, coming from the United States, it's really inspiring to learn about what is happening in Saudi Arabia. You know, things tend to be fairly stable, except for COVID over time, because we're a pretty mature economy. But just seeing the transformation in entrepreneurial activity in Saudi Arabia has just been quite an inspiration.
Thank you, everybody. You were a lovely audience.
Thank you for everyone joining us tonight. I would like to thank our doctors, our professors, our panelists, and everyone else for joining us. With this final interview, I would like to encourage everyone to please visit our website at mbsc.edu.sa or reach us through our social media accounts featured on the screen. For the report, you can also scan the QR code and download the report directly, which is available for you tonight. In terms of also, I would like to extend our thanks to our partners. Thank you to BG Cell, Misk Foundation, Lockheed Martin, and Munshaat, as well as the King Abdullah Economic City, without whom this event would not be. Thank you all again, and good night.